Three young women enjoy a floating picnic on inflatable rafts off the coast of Capri in 1939, toasting with glasses while surrounded by the iconic Faraglione rocks, a testament to Italy's timeless embrace of la dolce vita even in the years before World War II. Times Square, in 1938, bustles with theaters, streetcars, and vintage automobiles beneath towering Art Deco skyscrapers, a glimpse of New York's golden age before neon transformed it into the glowing spectacle the world knows today. Yul Brynner celebrates his wedding to Chilean model Doris Kleiner right on the set of The Magnificent Seven in 1960, surrounded by Hollywood legends Charles Bronson, Eli Wallach, Horst Buchholz, Brad Dexter, and Steve McQueen, a spontaneous celebration that became cinematic history. The Foleyphone, a satirical musical instrument created by Louis Sidney in the early 1900s, mocked the era's obsession with futuristic music by combining absurdly oversized brass tubes, organ keyboards, and accordion-like bellows into one gloriously impractical contraption. German heavy metal band Running Wild in 1984, embodying the peak of mid-80s rock aesthetics with leather, spikes, and theatrical attitude, what the era considered the ultimate definition of cool before they pioneered pirate metal. The Convair Model 118 flying car from 1947 promised to eliminate traffic jams forever with its detachable aircraft module. But like countless futures that never were, this ambitious post-war dream never reached mass production. Charlie Chaplin and his towering on-screen rival Eric Campbell on set in 1916, capturing the comedic contrast between the diminutive tramp and the imposing villain who became one of silent cinema's most memorable heavies before his tragic early death in 1917. A daring construction worker balances on a wooden beam high above New York City in 1939, performing what seems impossible with the streets and traffic far below. A testament to the fearless laborers who built America's skyline without modern safety equipment. American soldiers in 1945 read the news they'd been fighting for. Hitler dead. A moment of collective relief as years of brutal warfare finally approached their end just days before Germany's unconditional surrender on May 8th. Chris Christopherson in 1978, at the height of his dual career. A Rhodes Scholar turned country music legend who wrote Me and Bobby McGee and starred in A Star is Born, proof that you could be an intellectual, musician, and Hollywood leading man all at once. A boy rides a giant tortoise in 1945, dangling a treat on a stick like a scene from a storybook. A whimsical moment of childhood joy in the first year of peace after World War II ended. Notorious Los Angeles mobster Mickey Cohen stands surrounded by newspaper headlines documenting his violent criminal empire. A defiant portrait of one of the most colorful gangsters of the 1940s to 50s, whose life rivaled any Hollywood film noir. Pablo Escobar's 1976 mugshot captures the future drug lord years before he built his cocaine empire. Just a 27-year-old criminal in a floral shirt, casually smiling for Colombian authorities who had no idea they were photographing the man who would become the world's most notorious narco-terrorist. A telephone tower in Sweden in 1886, choked with thousands of individual wires connecting subscribers across the city. This chaotic spiderweb of cables was the infrastructure of the communication revolution before underground lines made such towers obsolete. President Gerald Ford helped Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev try on his fur coat during their 1974 summit in Vladivostok. A surprisingly light-hearted moment of personal diplomacy between Cold War adversaries as they negotiated nuclear arms limitations that would shape the decade. The Eiffel Tower rises like a skeletal giant over Paris in 1889, nearing completion for the World's Fair. What critics once called an iron monstrosity would soon become the most beloved symbol of France and the world's most visited paid monument. Salvador Dalí, reading his own biography in 1955, visibly pleased with himself. The surrealist master who once declared, "Every morning when I wake up, I experience an exquisite joy." The joy of being Salvador Dalí, clearly enjoying his favorite subject. Muhammad Ali and Etta James share a moment at the piano in 1974, when the greatest boxer was at his peak and the at-last singer was conquering stages worldwide. Two cultural icons whose charisma and talent transcended their respective arenas. Marilyn Monroe performs for over 100,000 American troops in Korea in February 1954, interrupting her honeymoon with Joe DiMaggio to deliver 10 shows in 4 days, later calling these performances among the most meaningful moments of her life. A 22-year-old Michael Jordan on roller skates at the Eiffel Tower in 1985, just 1 year into his NBA career. Before the 6 championships, global fame, and transformation into basketball's greatest icon, he was still just a talented rookie exploring Paris. Goliath, the elephant seal, towers over his keeper at the London Zoo in 1936. The massive bull, weighing up to 5,000 pounds, with his intimidating proboscis inflated. A creature so enormous it seems pulled from prehistoric times rather than the depths of the ocean. Exhausted riders at the finish of the first Tour de France in 1903, when 60 cyclists embarked on a grueling 2,428-kilometer journey across unpaved roads on heavy steel bikes. Only 21 would complete all 6 stages of cycling's most audacious experiment. A mother bathes her children in a tub on a Paris balcony during a sweltering summer day in 1937. A simple snapshot of working-class life just 2 years before World War II would shatter the peace of these ordinary moments forever. A Los Angeles motorcycle cop pulls over a man riding an ostrich-drawn cart for speeding in 1930. Yes, there was actually a day when an ostrich was deemed too fast for city streets, capturing the wild, eccentric spirit of early Hollywood-era L.A. A soldier operates a massive acoustic aircraft detector in the 1920s, using giant sound collectors to hear enemy planes before radar existed. These primitive listening devices were humanity's first attempt to detect aerial threats, born from the trauma of WWI bombing raids. Pioneer photographer Margaret Bourke White perches fearlessly on one of the Chrysler Building's iconic Art Deco eagle gargoyles around 1930, risking her life hundreds of feet above Manhattan to capture the perfect shot, embodying the daring spirit that made her one of the first female photojournalists. Barcelona's Sagrada Familia. In 1905, just 23 years into construction under Antoni Gaudi's visionary direction, the basilica that began in 1882 remains unfinished over 140 years later, making it history's most ambitious architectural project and the ultimate monument to patience. Members of the Kendall Green Cycling Club line up on their penny-farthing bicycles in 1884. When cycling was a daring Victorian sport for the adventurous, these high-wheelers represented freedom and modernity decades before cars. making cyclists the tech-forward rebels of their era. A young Michael Jackson casually leans on Oscar the Grouch's trash can during a Sesame Street appearance in 1978, when the 20-year-old was transitioning from child star to solo superstar. Two icons of American pop culture meeting in a moment of pure 1970s television magic. Baby Bunny Smith and Major Mite posed together in 1922, representing the extremes of human variation that drew crowds to circus sideshows. A snapshot from the era when physical differences became entertainment, reflecting both the exploitation and economic opportunity of early 20th century show business. Albert Einstein's entire life captured in two photographs: a formal portrait as a young child around 1882, and his final image in March 1955, just weeks before his death. The journey from an ordinary German boy to the 20th century's most iconic scientific mind, Marilyn Monroe tries on her iconic gold swimsuit during a costume fitting for How to Marry a Millionaire in 1953, assisted by costume designer William Travilla. The playful behind-the-scenes moment captures Monroe at the peak of her star power in one of the year's biggest box office hits. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett relax on a private jet playing cards, representing over $130 billion in combined wealth. Yet the billionaire best friends are known for their modest lifestyles, with Buffett famously still living in the house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. A daring tourist contemplates the abyss at the edge of the Grand Canyon in 1914. His primitive automobile parked precariously on the rocky precipice, a testament to the fearless spirit of early American road trippers before guardrails, safety regulations, or common sense prevailed. The Tickler Ride at Coney Island's Luna Park in 1911, where spinning cars and unpredictable movements sent riders careening into each other. A glimpse of America's original amusement park during its golden age, when elaborate domes and towers created an electric fantasy land on the Brooklyn shoreline. A Dutch civil servant operates an IBM 401 accounting machine with punch cards to prepare for Amsterdam's 1948 parliamentary elections. A glimpse of democracy's early computerization, when processing votes required room-sized machines and stacks of perforated cards rather than digital systems. Western Electric employees gather for their office Christmas party in Washington, D.C., 1925. A snapshot of corporate culture a century ago, when the company that built America's telephone network celebrated the holidays with formal attire, sparse decorations, and the entire staff crammed into one room. Vice President Richard Nixon debates Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev in a model American kitchen at Moscow's Sokolniki Park exhibition in 1959, with future Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev watching. The famous kitchen debate, where capitalism and communism clashed over dishwashers and consumer goods at the height of the Cold War. The bullet bra dominated 1950s fashion with its distinctive cone-shaped silhouette, creating an exaggerated pointed profile popularized by Hollywood stars and lingerie brands. A symbol of post-war femininity that seems absurdly sculptural today, but defined the era's idealized female form. Arnold Schwarzenegger stands next to NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal, making the 6'2" action star and former Mr. Olympia look surprisingly average-sized beside the 7'1" basketball giant. A rare moment when the man famous for being larger than life meets someone who literally towers over him. Hopeful clubgoers crowd the entrance to Studio 54 in New York, on November 6, 1979. Desperate to pass the infamous velvet rope and Notorious doorman selection. The legendary disco, where getting inside mattered more than what happened once you were in, defining peak nightclub exclusivity. Sir Winston Churchill poses in ceremonial robes with his son Randolph and grandson Winston in 1953, the year he received his knighthood and Nobel Prize in Literature. 3 generations of Churchills in formal regalia, capturing the weight of dynasty and the aging statesman's second tenure as prime minister. A boy and his German shepherd share a musical moment in the early 1900s, strumming a banjo together in a timeless portrait of childhood joy and canine companionship, capturing the simple pleasures of a century ago when kids entertained themselves with instruments and loyal dogs before screens changed everything. Albert Einstein's office at Princeton's Institute for Advanced Study, photographed just hours after his death on April 18, 1955. Papers scattered across his desk, equations still chalked on the blackboard. A life of genius frozen mid-thought as he worked until the very end on his unified field theory. A woman is physically restrained by 3 officers for a police mugshot in Victorian-era Britain, capturing the brutal reality of early forensic photography when subjects were forcibly held still during long exposure times. A disturbing reminder that photographic documentation doubled as state coercion. Jackie Kennedy captures a mirror selfie with her twin-lens Rolleiflex camera alongside Ethel Kennedy and JFK, likely during a 1950s vacation. Decades before selfie entered the dictionary, America's future First Lady was already documenting private moments with the same impulse that drives social media today. Elton John shows off his football skills in Los Angeles during his stint as owner of the NASL's Los Angeles Aztecs in the mid-1970s. The rock superstar in trademark oversized glasses demonstrating moves while female players watch, capturing the bizarre, celebrity-driven era when American soccer tried to make it big. Young shoppers' audition records at a store's listening stations in the 1960s, headphones on and vinyl spinning. The birth of modern youth culture, when music became personal escape and record stores turned into social hubs where teenagers discovered their identity through sound before they bought. A surfer poses with a massive wooden surfboard in 1914, when riding waves meant wrestling with 10-foot planks weighing over 100 pounds, no wetsuit, no wax, and curious onlookers in formal wear, watching this strange Hawaiian import. Decades before surf culture became mainstream, this was pure athletic endurance. 2 pioneers of the personal computer revolution, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, sit together in the mid-1990s discussing their competing visions for computing's future, representing the ongoing battle between Apple's integrated design philosophy and Microsoft's software partnership model that defined the era. The 1927 Stutz Vertical 8, photographed in San Francisco, demonstrates the groundbreaking Safety Stutz chassis, featuring America's first widespread 4-wheel hydraulic brakes and reinforced safety glass, making it remarkably secure for rainy day driving, even with minimal tire tread. 4 marathon dancers, Evelyn King, Fred Newman, Thelma Reese, and W. Gately, received marriage licenses in Washington, D.C. on May 10, 1923, capturing a unique moment where love, weary legs, and official paperwork converged during the dance marathon craze. Young Clint Eastwood, surrounded by adoring female fans during his rise to fame in the 1950s, when the tall, handsome actor was transforming from an unknown into Hollywood's most charismatic leading man. The Wright brothers in 1909. Orville and Wilbur, the ingenious inventors who constructed the first powered aircraft and opened the age of aviation with their historic December 17, 1903 flight at Kitty Hawk. Children confined in iron lung machines in 1950 before the polio vaccine existed, their bodies sealed in hermetic metal chambers that artificially breathed for them after the disease paralyzed their respiratory muscles. A group of East German Goths in Leipzig during the 1980s, defiantly maintaining their Gothic identity in the repressive GDR, where such subcultures were officially banned, with Leipzig eventually becoming Germany's Goth capital and hosting the world's largest Gothic festival, Wave Gothic Treffen. In 1933, sled jumping from trampolines represented the era's fearless approach to winter extreme sports, with participants launching themselves off wooden ramps on simple sleds in spectacular fashion that showcased the period's appetite for dangerous thrills and death-defying stunts long before modern safety equipment existed. Construction workers eat lunch on a steel beam 850 feet above New York City during the building of Rockefeller Center in 1932. The most famous workplace photo ever taken, capturing Depression-era laborers casually perched above Manhattan with no safety equipment, embodying both the reckless bravery and economic desperation of the era. South Vietnamese General Nguyen Ngoc Loan executes a Viet Cong prisoner on a Saigon street on February 1, 1968. Eddie Adams's Pulitzer Prize-winning photograph that shocked the world and turned American public opinion against the Vietnam War, capturing the brutal reality behind official narratives of the conflict. The Surgeon's Photograph from 1934, the most famous image of the Loch Ness Monster that captivated the world for 6 decades until it was finally exposed in 1994 as an elaborate hoax using a toy submarine with a sculpted monster head, proving how easily a grainy photo can create global legend. Travelers feed coins into individual television sets at Los Angeles Airport in 1969, an early pay-per-view concept where entertainment required constant quarters. A snapshot of pre-digital transit when killing time meant choosing between coin-operated TVs, magazines, or staring at strangers. The elaborate model train from NBC's Super Train, 1979, part of a $10 million investment in 3 different scale train sets for television's most expensive disaster, a nuclear-powered luxury train drama that lasted just 9 episodes and nearly bankrupted the network, proving that no amount of money can save a show audiences don't want to watch. The Hiller VZ one-Pawnee flying platform from 1955, an experimental one-person aircraft where pilots stood on a circular platform above ducted counter-rotating fans and steered by shifting their body weight, reaching a breathtaking top speed of 16 miles per hour at heights up to 33 feet before the U.S. Army deemed it impractical for combat and abandoned the program in 1963. Bathers in heavy woolen bathing costumes on a New England beach around 1910. Women wearing knee-length tunics over bloomers, and men in body-covering suits, all made from thick flannel that became waterlogged and heavy. Yet their joy shines through the restrictive modesty codes of the era, when showing an ankle could cause scandal, and bathing suits were designed more for propriety than swimming.